yes, yes. Welcome in. It's a very special edition of Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt, Alton Toyota's presentation of Balloon Party. Jackson Bennett Burkett is already here. But look, Jackson, Josh Ennis is in the studio with us. I've never heard a gallery.
Thank you.
This charged up.
I'm excited. This is interesting. This is neat.
So I'm going to be out, and when I'm out, they bring you in, and then you show your...
I'm like your Burt Reynolds when you're out.
And I'm Dom DeLuise.
Yeah, I come in and like I'm Joan Rivers when you're out. I'm like not the full-time guest host, I guess, but most of the time they'll reach out to me and say, yes, you will fill in.
So Tommy Mattern, head of programming/operations, I think operations is the official term, said, hey, I'd like to have you guys do a show together since Josh is going to be doing the show on Thursday and Friday a couple of times here over a few times in the month of June. And so Josh and I were texting yesterday, and I said, is there anything in particular you'd like to talk about? Because Jackson has turned his back on us. Have you ever been more disrespected in your life, Josh, than what's going on right now? He just turned his back on us in some kind of, what was that? That was appalling.
This is my act of defiance.
Is that right? You don't like when somebody comes in and takes your airtime to talk about the Timberwolves staving off elimination.
Their brave performance,
Well, actually, what that gives us is another opportunity to bet the over, which did not hit last night, missed by about 5 points, but it hit in the first 3 games. The over, and I know that you guys like to talk about, dude, I mean, I've lost like thousands upon thousands of dollars gambling. Like if I ever...
Is that right?
Oh, God, I'm like, it's...
Do you have like a guy or...
No, here's the problem. Thank you for asking.
No, this is good.
This is
my
cathartic. This is cathartic, and I thank you for asking. So I used to, when I lived in Texas, I was in Houston, and this is before FanDuel and all that. Right. So you'd have to find these offshore apps like
sure.
Bet
that's
Online.
That's how I played poker when they shut it down in the U.S. in 2011.
There you
I had to play offshore, and I didn't really... I felt comfortable playing on PokerStars, but I didn't feel comfortable playing on... I'm not going to name them now, but they're still in existence.
Oh, I'll name some of them.
Okay, here we go.
BetOnline.ag.
Never played on that one. Was that a poker site or just
No, I don't play poker and all that. I just gambled on sports. And I forgot some of the other ones. I endorsed one of them for a while. And I would just, I would use them and lose money. But when I'd win, the only way I could get the money is if they sent a check from the Bank of Canada.
Yes.
Like this check would be a DXL. And my wife, who I'm blessed to say now is a full-on degenerate too. She parlays, she loves it all. But at the time, she thought I was a loser, which she was right.
But now she's on board.
But now she too is a loser. So I'm excited about this. She's like, oh, can we drive to Illinois today to go put in a parlay? I'm like, yes, honey, we can. I substitute that for sex. We don't have sex anymore, but I get my jollies from us going to Illinois.
So that's what you do. You will go across the river. It substitutes for sex in the relationship, but you guys will put in parlays together and experience the eroticism of a 3-gamer.
That's what we... Oh, but see, here's the problem with my wife. Whereas I will just set money on fire and I won't even realize I've put in $500, $600, $700. My wife, for 2 years, she started endorsing FanDuel when we were in Nashville. And so she put in like $20 and would make like $1 7-leg parlays. They would miss by like one. She's a savant, really. Like if she would bet them straight,
she needs to become a tout.
Totally. Like she's got the bosom for it. She could be like what's that gal, Kelly in the Desert or whatever.
Jackson Kelly in the Desert.
Yeah,
she's
Kelly.
Going to join us at 10:30.
Yep.
Oh really?
Yeah.
We'll get her.
Book her on the fly.
And so whoever it is, all these hot chick touts, my wife could do it, but she doesn't believe in herself enough. But what I tell her is she'll go, yeah, man, I just missed the other night she missed a parlay by one rebound from Al Horford, and now she hates Al Horford. But she got 5 of the 6 right, like random dudes like Daniel Gafford. She's like, Daniel Gafford,
with his work,
Texas A&M.
Oh, dude, totally. She would text me I drive to Illinois. This is our degenerate relationship.
This is unbelievable.
Dude, this is. I mean, it's
no
love.
Children for the record.
Oh God, no. We have a dog. He's 12. My wife treats him like he's a child. I mean, he's always at the vet. Anal glands expressed. Eats the best treats, all this stuff. We don't
Sounds
have
like
any
me.
kids.
You have Anal Glands Express?
That's where the sentence starts and stops, baby.
You can't impregnate your wife just by putting in parlays. You have to do other things, so we don't have any kids. But, so she'll text, and I'll go like, yeah, I'm over in Illinois. A true degenerate, I'm parked at the Shell off of Illinois 3, right? Like right when you cross the bridge, there's a Shell station there. Now they've built a little center that has nothing in it except one bar, and that bar has some gambling name, and it's just, I don't know who sits in this bar. But it's literally
as sad
degenerate.
as the smoke tank at the airport.
Oh, God, it's so sad. You know what it's like? It's like on Sundays during the NFL season when you cross the bridge and go there. It's like it's the parking lot of Woodstock. Like the line, it's like if you build it, they will come.
Yeah,
There's a
Field of
line that
Dreams, they're all
starts. Yes,
there.
if there's a line that starts at the Shell and it like goes all the way up back to the bridge because people are betting, parlays on Sunday. So my wife is great at it and we enjoy doing it. The problem is I have a problem. Thus, I will gamble way too much. I've probably lost.
What do you think? What do you think the real number is?
Now, if you count like, I took the money out, but then I just redeposited it.
Sure.
It's into six figures.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Now, over how long of a period
Probably a
of time?
decade.
Wow.
I'll tell you, I can tell you.
Have you ever had a profitable year?
Oh, I don't even bother looking. There's no way. I'll tell you though, but let me sit down. Let me get on
settle
the
in.
couch.
Therapy session.
Sorry, I know I've messed up our camera angle
that's
here,
good.
but
I think it follows us. I think.
It's like the
this
Mona
is the
Lisa.
thing.
Yeah.
If I were disciplined, these are so many things that degenerate losers say, but if I were disciplined,
You could be profitable.
I could be profitable because I have systems, Gistems, the Josh Innes show, Josh Innes systems, Gistems that I like to use. Like, I'm a big fan of live betting basketball overs in the last couple of minutes. Last chance you have to put in a bet on an over on a live bet. I like doing that, especially in
Now, is it because you
European.
like it or is it because it's profitable?
Because it was profit. One time I got on a heater on this and made like 20 grand in a couple of days betting like Yugoslavian basketball overs, right? And then I never took that money out and I lost it. Like, I don't know. But that was back. Now it's easy to take money out. You just hit withdraw on FanDuel. Back in the day when it was like Bovada, they'd have to send you a check that like originated in India, but then like the check said Bank of Canada. And that was the original point. My wife was worried. She's like, are people going to murder you? Like, who gets a DXL package with a $1,000 check from the Bank of Canada?
I played poker on Bovada once they shut down Poker Stars, and I actually was profitable, but it's not like I killed it. And then I'd get the whatever the hell the packaging company was.
DXL would say
And
the
it was
yellow
Bank of
and red
Canada.
package it would, on the doorstep, and there'd be a check from the Bank of Canada. And my wife is like, are you going to die? Like, what's going to happen? I'm like, I don't know, Jelly. I don't know. I one time had a guy once, and this was a buddy of mine was like, hey, I have a sports betting guy, and they give you a line of credit. You get like $3 grand until you have to pay up. So in my dumb mind, I went all the way up to like $29.50, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm out. And he's like, no, you're going to give me $3,000 or you'll die. So I had to pay that guy $3 grand.
So do you meet him in a parking lot or something like that?
I did.
The Shell over across the river.
I've gotten
That's
myself.
probably where he should
Totally.
set up a shop there.
I've gotten myself into some seedy situations in my day. Like an example of a seedy meetup. Back before you could just go to all these ticket websites and it was normal to scalp, back when you have to go to eBay and someone would sell you a pencil, but then the tickets would be included with the $1,000 pencil.
That was the loophole.
Yeah, that was the loophole on eBay. Well, I hooked up with a dude who was selling World Series tickets to what I think was it was the 06.
Okay.
So it was supposed to be game 5, but it ended up
and then
being
they
game 4.
flip-flopped them. They flip-flopped them because of a rain out with the Tigers.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I drove in from Louisiana and I called this guy and he's like, all right, meet me in the, you're going to meet me in the lobby of the Hilton. I'm going to be standing by a fountain and don't say anything. Just walk up to me and you'll know. And
Like all the president's men.
Yes. He's wearing like a windbreaker. He's like got his windbreaker. He's like got like a pastel-colored windbreaker. Looks like an aging mobster, like the mobster after he like went into witness protection and he's eating, noodles and ketchup.
That's exactly right.
And I'm like, okay, fine. He looked like Johnny Depp at the end of Blow.
Oh, that was an unfortunate
it's
turn.
so sad. And he's wearing like those like Z Cavaricis and like a horrible pastel windbreaker, and he's fat. And I just walk up and I go, hello. He goes, no. Shh. He goes basically like, shut the shut up. And he just hands me tickets to like game 4 of the World Series. And I'm like, thanks.
Did you get the pencil as well, or was that just
that I was lied to.
Yeah, you got a case.
Yeah, so all that to tell you, your question was, how much do you think I've lost over the years gambling? A lot. And like, it doesn't
Did
seem
you lose last night, for example?
Yes, but I took the over in the basketball game, missed that by those bad first quarter that got us. I took the over in the first half that got us. That was a horrible first half. Well, we only missed it by 5.
No, I'm saying we. That's you and the missus.
Me and the Mavericks. No, she didn't play that one.
She didn't play that one.
She was actually angry yesterday because I didn't invite her over to Illinois. I just went without her knowing. And
is that considered like cheating in the marriage now?
kind of. It's like, I think she'd rather me like just invest my money in OnlyFans than go to Illinois without her to bet on the Mavericks. I also bet on the hockey game over, which didn't hit. I also have a thing. I don't play unders. That's for losers. I'm a total dope. Like, I'm the guy they want.
You only play overs.
But I won't just play an over just to play an over, but I won't play an under. I just don't like to. I feel like that's un-American to root for people to not score. It's boring. Who wants to watch a bad game?
I love betting an under.
I can't do that.
Sweating it out in the last 5 minutes.
Let me ask
so
you
much
guys
fun.
something. Not trying to hijack you
Yeah,
here.
feel
but
free. It's a free-for-all. It's not like we have anything mapped out.
I feel like I found my real friends now. I feel like this is an intervention.
Yeah,
Someone's
we're talking OnlyFans and gambling. I mean, you're speaking my language.
My money guy is going to come in and be like, I knew that you've been lying to me about how much money you've lost now, and we're here to help. So anyway, as far as like gambling, what is the most degenerative thing you've gambled on?
Oh, wow. Boy, that puts me to the test. Jackson, you got anything?
Like in terms of sports, or just like you and your buddies are like flipping coins outside and you might put $1 on it? Like, you talking like sports game?
Basically, like, I'm not saying like, hey, there's 2 cockroaches out in the yard.
Right.
What do you guys think?
Because I've degened on that once or twice.
So along the lines of what you're talking about, with what's the system called again?
The Gistum.
The Gistum.
Yeah, I've got multiple Gistums.
That
for
you
what
believe
it's worth.
is a profitable model if you could stick to the Gistum. It's my belief that if all I did was play online poker, if it were available in the United States, and why it's not is beyond me, but it's not. It was shut down in 2011, and that hurt me because it was a revenue stream, that I would be profitable. But there are poker players who are infinitely better than me, but then they become degenerate gamblers, and then they start betting on like what color the car is that's going to make the next turn.
Sure.
And then that is how they wind up, given a handy in a parking lot. And it's an unfortunate turn of events, because if they would just stick to their version of the Gistum, they'd be living in Malibu.
Oh, I feel one of my favorite things to bet on FanDuel, because in NHL, it doesn't work this way, because they basically cut off team scoring with like 7-8 minutes to go. But over in like Sweden and Czechoslovakia, or in the IIHF, which happened last week, you can bet.
What does that stand for?
The International something Hockey Federation.
Nice. Jackson, are you familiar with that one?
It's like the
I'm
Olympics.
I'm the commissioner.
Yeah, thanks. So what happened is, we end up discovering that you can bet up until 3 minutes to go in a game. You can bet on each team's individual goals. And what I've learned is that, like, the team that's up by 1, or preferably 2 is the ideal. If they're up, say, 4-2 with like 3:05 to go, you take just take them to score again, because there's going to be an empty net. And in a 2-goal game, you might have 3 minutes of an empty net. That's a key component of the Gistum, is rooting for empty net hockey goals.
That's what it is. So you're live betting for empty net hockey goals.
Yes. But again, in the NHL, it doesn't work that way, because the numbers are all off and there's no value. But like in Sweden and Czechoslovakia and Russia, like places where like some of these future NHLers are currently playing that you've never heard of. Like the other day, the Blues like signed somebody from some place like the Vax Joe Lakers. I'm like, I know them. I know them. They hit empty netters for me.
You wager on them.
I do. It's sad. But the saddest thing I've ever gambled on is like Ukrainian table tennis at like 3 a.m.
So you really did bet on this? Were you watching it, or were you just like, what? I've got a loose 100. Let's go.
I'm just like, I got nothing else to do, and I'm bored, and I've lost all day, and Ukrainian table tennis.
Did you hit?
No, not at all. But then the thing is, you have to find value, so you build parlay. Look, I got a problem. I'm glad you brought me in. I feel like this is a good cautionary tale for people. You remember that interview that I think Bob Costas did with Mickey Mantle, like right before Mickey Mantle died, and he's like, "Kids, don't be like me." And he's like, "My liver's black, and like my heart is black."
You're
too.
essentially doing a cautionary. This is a cautionary tale for the youngsters.
This is the more you know. Is what this is. Like this is
Don't be like me.
This is a
So
sad
you're
story.
live betting Ukrainian table tennis. How are you doing that? Are you an Illinois resident? But you're driving over there.
not anymore.
Okay.
This is back when I lived in Tennessee, where you could just that
could.
really is where my money started going to hell.
Because you could wager
Because I
there.
could just
Yeah.
all day just sit there and do it. In real life, I find that gambling sites are problematic. I do. But then again, it's like I drink a lot, and you know what? I don't tell people not to buy beer, smoke all your pot, smoke cigarettes, eat bad. I don't care what you do, so I can't. All I know is if gambling sites didn't exist, I might be in like one of those 40 under 40 wealth lists.
Is that right?
But I'm not now. Like now I call my money guy and I'm like, hey, how many of my retirement stocks can I sell? And he's like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, I swear the car broke down again.
So he knows
I swear
that there's a little bit of an issue
I
here.
had a medical emergency. I swear I need the money.
Josh Innes is with me today here on Balloon Party. Josh will be filling in tomorrow and Friday, and we welcome you to participate in the program by texting in the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. The YouTube chat is up there. Ryan Welch, Eric Nickens. Is it MD 2020, Jackson? And that's Mad Dog, and your favorite Mad Dog was what?
Electric Melon.
Oh, wow, you guys can see all the comments.
that
up there.
great?
I know, I always comment like a real loser.
That's Mike Ryder's concoction. He said, how about this? We can put the YouTube chat right up there on one of the monitors.
Neat.
And so
now
now
I know my stuff is seen. Now I know you just ignore it. That's good. I really feel like a loser. 100 grand in debt. I get ignored by
Talking it
Balloon
over a
Party
tiny pee-pee.
with 100 people on the station YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
there it is. It's all up there. Participate in the YouTube chat. Tim McKernan, Josh Innes, and Jackson Bennett Burkett with you. Coming back with the Little Piddles Wide Berth Wednesday. And this is a very special edition of the Wide Berth
Very
Wednesday.
special, yeah.
Because Josh is in.
That's right.
All right. I can't wait to see what you have prepared for us. That's coming up next. This is Balloon Party on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, the presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. And it's the place I go to get my cars and the place I recommend you go to get your cars as well. They have a special for TMA listener, and we carry it over to Balloon Party, Jackson, because why not? We're all in the same gang. 1989 East Coast, West Coast All-Stars, was that what it was? Somebody will look that up. I think it was 89. And here's the deal. $589 a month. No money down, and you get a 2024 Acura MDX Premium from Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. And if any questions or comments that you want to ask, go ahead and give this number out to your friends and family and use it yourself. Here it is, 314-252-0029. You're going to go straight to the people in charge at Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. That's Jamie Burkhardt and Peter Munganess, Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. Welcome back to Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Bennett, Burkett, and it's a very special edition of Balloon Party today here on 101 and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel because Josh Innes is with us, and we're holding a therapy session for Josh and all degenerate gamblers today, and I feel like we're making progress. I think we're making headway.
Yeah, at least I'm not addicted to like porn or something.
Right, exactly. That felt passive aggressive. It just felt passive aggressive. It just felt. I don't even know if it was passive.
It was just full on aggressive.
It was full on aggressive.
Oh no, trust me. I was on Casey yesterday, and I was reading some story about micro penises.
Oh, microweens, one of the worst beats in the game.
Yeah, and it was some story about how Lisa Ann, who I'm not a big fan. Do you use Lisa Ann for stuff?
Yeah, she went to Jamaica with us, and Jackson roomed with her. Did you know this?
I did not know this.
Jackson shared a bed with her.
Did you get to do like stepmommy? No, okay, that's fine. She's a legend in that field, but that's fine.
I huddled in the corner of the bed with my book.
Were you like kind of afraid, like intimidated by the idea that you could, maybe hook up with Lisa Ann?
Yeah, it's just, I just wanted to read.
What an incredible response.
Let me tell you, here's what bothers me about Lisa Ann, and this is my own personal issue. Not even really with her, but a general thing. So when I was on the radio in Houston the first time, I was on a sports radio show, and we would dive into bluer content, much like you guys do over on Balloon Party, where it's acceptable.
TMA,
No, not Balloon
HD2.
Party.
Yeah, you think this-
Sorry.
This is light blue.
So when I fill in on Balloon Party, it gets
bluer.
dark blue. It gets like New York City in the city blue. It's very blue. But they would all be like, this guy talks too much about sex, blah, 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 blah. So then I leave, and these other guys take over the show. And then every Friday, they're talking to Lisa Ann doing fantasy football picks. And I'm like, how is that okay? But like me, like doing actual funny stuff. You guys are over here talking to Lisa Ann doing fantasy football picks. The only thing she got going for is that she was in porn. That's like the bit. And like I got angry over that. Like, why am I offensive?
So were you still at the station, and now you're mad at the station? You were
I went on
gone.
to bigger things. I moved on to Philadelphia then.
Oh, WIP.
Yeah, I worked at WIP for...
I mean, that's one of the... I mean, if you're doing all-time stations in sports talk radio...
It's probably number two.
And number one is
FAN, probably.
Okay,
so I'd say
thing.
number two. But I'd argue that the people in Philly are more passionate. And if I wasn't, I was a different level of degenerate then. Like I was a self-loathing degenerate.
So you weren't gambling, but you were hating yourself.
Oh yes, very much. I just hated the whole situation there.
What did you hate there?
What
were you doing? Mornings or afternoons?
I was doing I started doing nights. I moved from Houston. I was doing afternoons. And then
I moved afternoons in Houston. And then I moved, top 5, 6, 7 markets, something like that, right?
Number 6.
Number 6.
At the time, it was
in
number
Philadelphia,
6.
4 or 5.
I think actually Philly and radio is like 7 or 8.
Oh, is that
so it's
right?
actually smaller, but it's a bigger deal. Like no one cares about sports radio in Houston. Like every station has like no ratings. It's sad.
Okay.
But so I got an opportunity to go work at WIP and do nights, and then eventually they moved me up to afternoons there, and we went straight to number 1. We're kicking everybody's ass. I'm doing like the Stern type stuff, I'm doing like the radio wars, and it's front page
Radio
news.
wars,
and it's like front page news, like front page.
Who were you in a radio war with?
A guy named Mike Missinelli was his name.
Okay.
And
was he on another station, or was he on the same station?
I also had wars with people that were on the station too.
Did management like it, or did they not like it?
They did and didn't. Is that my boss who hired me actually used to run a radio station called WYSP in Philadelphia, which eventually that signal became WIP in the 2000s. But WYSP was the first Howard Stern radio station that wasn't in New York. It was the first affiliate. So they ran Stern, and then Stern eventually ended up on WJFK in D.C. and then in L.A. and a bunch of places. But this was the first one. So when we did that, he liked it, but he said, you got to kill it. We're number 1 now. Stop doing it. Like, just focus on doing a show.
Got to kill what? The radio wars
just
inside the staff?
Calm down. Let it, because we're number 1. We don't need to mention the other guy anymore. Problem is, it was so much fun, and we had so many good bits. Like, there was one time, God, this was awesome. So the guy's brother called our show and was like wanting to fight me in the parking lot because I was talking about his brother.
Now, was this real, or was this like
Real.
WWE? This is real.
100% real. Okay. There was nothing about it that was fake. So I went in, and that's the problem is now, like, you can't do real stuff. This was 10 years ago, maybe. You could still kind of do it. So I went out, And
Are you mic'd up when you meet the brother in the parking lot?
I did actually meet him in the parking lot. And I did have an encounter with the other guy. There's so many things that happen in this small amount of time in Philadelphia. But so the brother calls and he wants to fight. He goes, I'll meet you in the parking lot. And we Googled his brother. Turns out his brother was a gynecologist. Okay. So when we would talk to him on the air, he'd call and be like, oh, the vagina doctor's on. And like we would just mock him for being like, and he wanted to fight so bad. It was a great segment, man. It was awesome. Then one time I'm in an Eagles practice, and I've never met this dude before, the host, Mike Missing Out, never met him. So I'm out at practice, I'm talking to some guy, and he's talking to some dude I didn't recognize. And then it dawns on me, this is the dude that I've been saying is terrible, the guy I sent dead flowers to whenever we took over number one, all this stuff, right? So he's a hothead. He's been fired before for punching a producer. I mean, like he was a hothead.
I fight Jackson.
You know, one of those like Philly wannabe tough guys. I watch all the mob movies. I'll kick your ass type of guys. But he's like 5'2".
Oh, that hits home too.
He's one of those. Yeah. So he's one of those guys. And we start talking, and you could tell he's stewing. And at one point, like he's like, I bet you won't say all that ish you say on the radio to my face. And I leaned down to him. And I said, your show effing sucks. And that was kind of the end of it. Well, somebody had taken pictures of this encounter. And before I could get on the air at 2, these pictures are already all over the internet, websites. It's the biggest story. It's absurd. My downfall there was that, I was there. I had, who Tony Bruno is?
Yeah.
You might know him from the NFL, like 2K5. Oh, no, he was on Madden. He was one of the guys on Madden, but he's also like a legendary.
Yeah, like what he did, Fox Sports Syndicate, if I'm not mistaken?
He was on Fox, but he was also on a show called The Best Damn Sports Show, period. Yeah. Like when it first launched, he was on there. And he's a great radio guy, and he quit. And then the whole story was he quit because he hated me, which I don't think was true, but it may have been. So he quits. They bring in another show. That show's doing well with me. Then my boss gets fired, so they took the guy that was on the air with me and made him the PD, so he was off the show. So they changed the show 3 times.
And how short of a period?
About 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I lost interest when my boss got fired. And then at that time, Houston starts calling me at another station there. And they're like, we want to give you a bunch of money. So I kind of blew myself up. And I've done like so many dumb things. But, it is what it is. And then you go to Houston. And then that's when I almost got in the fight with the guy at Radio Row at the Super Bowl.
So you got in a fight at Radio Row at the Super Bowl.
That was also the biggest story of the day. There was like a Tuesday. Nothing happens on Tuesday at Radio Row. It's like Conrad Dobler hops around on one leg and goes to every station. Like that's what happens on Tuesday. Like Sandler shows up on Friday. Merrill Hodge is Tuesday.
You fight on Tuesday. So why are you guys scrapping? Is this guy at a different station?
Well, yes. Now he's a guy I knew from my first time in Houston. Football player's named Seth Payne. And so he and I were friends when I was at 610 in Houston, owned by CBS. I left, I come back, I work for iHeart. And I start doing the Philly radio war type thing where I'm making fun of their show. Now, it holds no water there because, A, no one gives a damn about sports radio. I'm on a rinky-dink AM station. No one cares.
No
one's
Triple Crown.
After AG2, I'm going to have to come across this table.
Honestly, yours is bigger than these. Like, your HD2 is more impressive. So we end up, I make fun, so he gets really angry. We're at Radio Row. It's like a Tuesday morning in Minneapolis at the Mall of America, and they're doing their show, whatever. I send my producer around like I've done for 100 years at Radio Row, and he goes around with mics and just interviews people. Like I used to do a bit where, like, have you ever been to Radio Row? Yeah,
yeah.
So Radio Row,
it's quite a scene.
Basically, it's a bunch of white people searching for black guys that they think are athletes. Is essentially what it is. Every black guy, they're like, should we get him? So the bit was we would send him around with a mic, and any black guy he saw, we'd say, hey, who do you play for? And that was the bit. And then I would also send him around to other shows. Like one time we had him dress up like Ditka, and people were like, "Oh, I want to get a picture with the coach." Like he met Ron Rivera dressed as Mike Ditka.
Oh.
I got a picture. This is funny stuff.
Riverboat
It's
Ron.
humorous. Yeah, and he met a bunch of guys like Chris Berman. He met Boomer. So all this stuff happened.
So he goes to Seth Payne as Ditka, or he goes as your producer?
No. They knew him too because he worked with them. He produced their show at one point. So he just walks over and we're on the air and I'm like, hey, send him over, go over there and just see what they're talking about. And then they shoo him off. I'm like, okay, fine, bit's over. Well, Seth Payne, big hulking football player dude. He stands up and starts yelling across the room, which is pretty empty because it's a Tuesday. It's 6 in the morning. It's, whatever. So he's yelling at me. He says, Josh Ennis is a bitch. You need to have the guts to come look at me in the face. And it's at that point, Tim, that Josh has a decision to make.
Yeah, what do you do?
Josh has spent the last basically 4 or so years of his life talking mad-ish about everybody that's in his way. If Josh says, no, I'll stay over here, then Josh is a bitch. But Josh is an excellent radio man, and he says this is an opportunity. So Josh, knowing that if this guy truly is angry, he's a former defensive lineman. He could kill me. I'm me. I mean, I'm a big dude, but I don't fight anybody. So I go over there and I'm like, rock and roll. Let's see what happens, So I go over and he's in my face and he's pointing at me. He's like, your ratings suck. You suck. Blah, blah, blah. All while this is happening, the dudes at WEEI in Boston are at the table next, and they just start recording it and talking about it, doing a play-by-play. Before I know it, it's trending nationally on Twitter. Radio Row guys fight. At the end of the day, I'm right in his face, and I'm like, oh, God. I'm shaking because, adrenalin, but mixed with I may die. So my hand's like this. I'm like, yeah. He didn't end up clocking me or anything, and, I end up walking away, and I go back and doing my show, and it's all the news. So I end up going back. I'm sitting at my table. Ross Tucker comes over. Ross, who's now with, I forgot where Russ is, but he's a good analyst. And Ross comes over and goes, did you guys hear that somebody got into a fight? And I go, yeah, that was me. He goes, dude, what the hell are you doing? So, yeah, that happened. I mean, I've had some moments. I got kicked out of the Texans practice once, so we got a crane, a boom lift, and had my guy stand on a boom lift over the fence and watch practice and broadcast.
And the Texans didn't appreciate that.
No.
It's like the Sandlot.
Look, I do dumb things, but I'm a radio guy. I'm here to entertain people.
We chose
Who
a career
cares my
poorly.
statistical data that I have? That's for BK. He can do that. I
BK
don't
has
have
the
that.
statistical. Jackson, do you have any statistical data? I don't think so. Jackson has
Not, sometimes I bring a little.
not much.
Sometimes I bring some numbers out, but not always. I like numbers, though. I like analytics.
All right, fair enough.
There's nothing wrong with analytics. I think people mistake, everything's an analytic, isn't it? Every piece of data is truly an analytic. I just think what happens is when people don't like a manager or something, they just assume that he's a guy that depends solely on analytics.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And that's a default click position. 10:36 in St. Louis. Josh Ennis with me here today, and Jackson. Josh will be in tomorrow and Friday while we are out. And you are welcome to participate in the program by texting in the Air Comfort Service. Text line 314-399-9646. The YouTube chat active as the day is long. I see a guy named Mazalek's replacement is in there talking with Yingling, Mike, coaches John and Dean Ellis, Eric Nickens, and Jackson's guy MD 2020 is in there as well. Jackson will have his Little Piddles Wide Berth Wednesday, very special edition. Josh, your first chance to get a Little Piddles Wide Berth Wednesday.
I'm excited.
What a treat for you.
I mean, normally I just comment on it in the chat and nobody comments back, but this is good. I have a microphone this time.
We'll have that coming up on the other side of the break. This is Balloon Party 101 ESPN. James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency in Webster Groves. He is my insurance agent. Jackson's about to make the switch as well. I'd recommend you make the switch. When we got hail damage on Sunday night, I immediately filed a claim on statefarm.com, and it's been taken care of already. I mean, it took about 3 minutes, and I'm communicating with James Carlton and his staff. That is what separates them from everybody else, and that is why I'm so grateful that I made the switch 5 years ago. You can do the exact same thing. It's super quick, and they do all the paperwork for you. Go to carltoninsurance.net or give them a call at 314-961-4800. It's James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency with 367 five-star reviews when you type his name into Google. James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, Webster Groves, carltoninsurance.net. If your insurance costs a leg and an arm, call James Carlton State Farm.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals win yesterday, 7-1, the final score in Cincinnati. They face the Cincinnati Reds for today's rubber match. 12-10 first pitch. Andre Palante on the mound for the Redbirds. And last night in the NBA, the Minnesota Timberwolves defeat the Dallas Mavericks 105-100. That series is now at 3-1. Anthony Edwards with 29 points. That was another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back. Boom Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett, and Josh Innes in with us today. Josh will be filling in for us tomorrow and Friday. And Josh, you have never been able to experience, well, you just got to experience Jackson's SportsCenter update. And
it was great, yeah. Well, I did that one time I filled in, but as people have pointed out, Jackson looked frightened the entire time I was there.
Were you scared?
Well, I'm 26 years old. All I've done on radio is TMA or this or Tim's podcast. So I'm not used to other stuff. And so when other stuff comes out,
he's a monogamous radio guy.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'm like a meerkat.
Did you feel
like
you were stepping out or something?
Yeah, were you cheating on me? Was it a cock situation?
I would think so.
It was a cock?
Yeah. I enjoyed it, though.
Cucking you?
Nah, I enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's his thing. He likes to sit at the foot of the bed.
While reading the book.
Jackson, what are your questions with this Little Piddles? It's a very special edition with Josh and Wide Berth Wednesday.
It is. The Redbirds went again behind another offensive outburst where they got out to an early lead and kept pouring it on. While the Redlegs certainly stink, lefty Andrew Abbott has been pretty effective this season, and the local 9 hung 6 on him. First off, how does one know what is a heater and what is a turning of the tides? Is it a chicken and egg scenario? Same way for a cold streak and a nosedive. Is time the great equalizer? For you to truly buy into the near 500 Cardinals, do guys like Arenado and Goldie need to have sustained success? And how long is it before it is considered sustained?
Josh, I'm going to yield the floor to you. You just realized probably in a Little Piddles Wide Berth Wednesday that theoretically it's one question, but you might notice there's a lot of subsets.
It reads like a fortune cookie. Like it's all deep, and then like I've lost track of what the question was. So is it what's a heater versus what's like sustainable, basically?
Yeah.
Well, didn't last year when they were 9-24, didn't they go on a couple of different runs?
They
where
had,
like they won 10
a May
12?
here in 2023. And,
I don't know that this feels different than that. Like I am jaded because of last year, right? So I don't watch this and go, hey, we might be for real. I just watch it and wait, like I'm also torn, right? Like I want the Cardinals to be good because I'm a Cardinals fan, much like I've heard you discuss how, hey, when you were a kid, 1982, you're listening to the game on the transistor radio, all that. Like that's how I grew up. When I was in Louisiana, my dad would let me go sit in his truck to listen to KMOX. And the first time I really remember doing that was in 2000. And, they were great in 2000. And they went to the LCS in 2000. And it was great. And my first heartbreak with the Cardinals was 96. We're up 3-1 on Atlanta. Brutal. It was crushing. I lived in Poplar Bluff at the time. And it was crushing, right? So, like, I am a diehard. I do not come to you from a place of, I'm an interloper. That's where everywhere else I've been. Right? Everywhere else I've been an interloper.
You adopted the Phillies.
Yeah,
and the
all that,
Astros.
yeah. I'm a legit St. Louis Cardinals fan. So when I tell you that I'm torn, what I mean by that is it's hard for me to root against them, although I was about 3 weeks ago openly hoping they would lose. When they were playing Milwaukee, I'm like, just keep losing. Let's blow this thing up.
I think a large number of people share that with you, but may not want to admit it. So I tip my cap to you for acknowledging that.
I acknowledge it. Like in that stretch against Milwaukee, I was rooting for them to blow. I think it was the Saturday game
and
that they gave it to home. And I'm like, thank you. Let's blow this thing up. But then the doof Marmol gets thrown out, and people start acting like that turns some tide. Like, oh, yes, Nolan Arenado hit a home run yesterday because 3 weeks ago Marmol got tossed.
Now, this is no good because we're on the same page on this particular topic. Things get attached to stories that become narratives that are actually false. It's very unrealistic to me to think that Oli Marmol getting tossed out in Milwaukee plays a role in a Paul Goldschmidt or Nolan Arenado at bat.
No, these guys have played for a decade. I don't believe that Paul Goldschmidt was sitting there just kind of twiddling his thumbs for 2 months, and then he goes, wait a second, Marmol got tossed? I'm going to start hitting 380 for 2 weeks. Like, that's not how it works. But the other issue that I'm having with really wanting the Cardinals to be good is I think I hate the DeWitts.
So what is your reasoning for hating the DeWitts?
That interview
with Martin Kilcoyne?
Yes, it was awful. Like, it just that one, and again, maybe I'm doing the unfair look at one excerpt of a 40-minute interview is the reason why I hate someone. But the condescending tone that they took with people, like, oh, you don't want to go to the games? That's fine. You're just hurting yourselves. Or they're like, screw off. Please. Like, lose me with that.
I do not share your opinion on this one.
No, they're winner. Now, the thing is, I don't hate them because they've been very good ownership-wise. And I don't want to be the guy that hates ownership, like, just to do it because it's a trendy thing. When I was in Philly, the Eagles had never won a Super Bowl. So they hated Jeff Lurie for whatever reason.
But now he's a god, right?
But now he's a god.
Yeah.
And they hated Howie Roseman, but Howie Roseman's a god now. So I don't want to be that guy. But if you're going to be openly combative with your consumer base while you're playing the worst stretch of baseball you've played since I've been alive, screw you, bro. I don't need this. I don't need to be talked down to by you and a guy who wears capri suit pants.
Who's wearing capri suit pants?
Mosaic.
Okay, I didn't know that he was wearing capri.
People overly
Is that
judge
actually,
the
is he
guy.
wearing capri?
Well, I mean, they look like it when he sits. They ride up when he sits. So he looks like he wears capris.
I've seen the cardigan, but I haven't seen the capris. Is that right? Jackson, do you wear capris?
Not often.
I feel like you'll sport a jumper type deal.
A jumper?
Yeah.
Like a onesie?
I like that. You seem like you wear
like culottes.
Yeah,
I wear
I can see you
culottes.
wearing that, like the shorts.
I think you look sharp at
Or
Wheelhouse.
jogging.
Bottle service and capri pants. Look, Jackson's in a jumper.
Yeah,
like in
like that.
Vegas. You
I
know,
wore
like
Sleepless
they
in
wear the
Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle
Like at
t-shirt.
Caesars.
You a Nora Ephron stand?
Oh, dude, I've heard you talk about your love of Nora Ephron. Yes.
Yep, he wore the Sleepless in Seattle
Sleepless in
t-shirt.
Seattle's not a good one, though, like as far as Nora Ephron goes.
Oh, don't get going with Jackson on movies.
I don't like unbelievable love stories. That's why I like Love Actually, which is totally unbelievable.
With the great Hugh Grant. Jackson, what's your top rom-com of all time?
Can I count Bull Durham?
No.
Josh might fight you now.
No, it's a comedy and there's romance in it, but there are certain movies that fall under the category of rom-com, and you know what they are.
You've Got Mail is my
Sleepless in
answer.
Seattle.
You've Got Mail with the great George
that's even
Clooney?
worse. Oh, God.
Josh, you
What's
sound
next?
pained.
Pretty Woman, the one where the hooker is, she's clean, totally clean, and she falls, the guy that falls in love with her, he's a billionaire.
So what are you going to go with? It's not You Got Mail. It's not Bull Durham.
I can't pick Bull Durham.
Cannot pick. That is a sports movie. It is not a romantic comedy.
What about Jerry Maguire?
Jerry Maguire is not a comedy.
That's what you mean.
It's not a comedy. It's more of a dramedy. That's not a comedy.
Cuba Gooding Jr. is not hilarious.
But that doesn't make it a comedy. A romantic comedy has certain elements that have to be followed in a romantic comedy. And Jerry Maguire is not a romantic comedy. It's kind of like, it was written by Cameron Crowe.
Yeah.
Cameron Crowe also wrote a movie called Say Anything, which is one of my favorite
the great John Cusack,
Boombox, Ione
Peter
Skye,
Gabriel.
In Your Eyes.
In Your
all that.
Eyes.
That movie has comedic elements in it, but it's a weird high school dramedy, and it's not really a comedy, so I can't count that as a teen comedy. It's a dramedy. I mean, spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, the chick's dad is embezzling money from old people at an old folks' home.
Jackson, don't
far
watch
too
it. It's already
dramatic.
been spoiled.
Sorry, I said spoiler alert. I should have given you ample time to switch.
I'll go with my T-shirt, Sleepless in Seattle. I love Sleepless in Seattle.
Can you accept that, Josh?
I accept that is a romantic comedy. That's pretty clear. I would disagree with it.
That's fair.
Someone on the text brings up How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That's a fine film.
The great
Kane.
Kate Hudson?
When she was the great Kate Hudson, and now not like
Now
trying
you're
to be
not.
some
Now you're
weird
not. Now
singer.
you're not a fan.
Well, she's like trying to be some weird singer.
I
We haven't
noticed that
seen her in a
she's now
movie in
before
100
she's
years.
singing. I haven't listened to it, but I know that she's singing.
What was that movie she was in with what's his name?
Almost
with Matt
Famous.
Dillon. No, there was
Another Cameron Crowe.
Which is a great movie. The one where she's in there and it's Matt Dillon and they're married, but then Owen Wilson is like, Dupree, you, me, and Dupree.
Yeah, the dog.
Smoking hot. No, that was Marley and Me.
Marley and Me.
Owen Wilson.
That was with Jay Aniston.
There's so much going on,
But yes.
Jackson. I'm trying to follow.
See, I don't believe, and people are debating this, I don't believe that Jerry Maguire fits into the comedy category. It is a dramatic movie with elements of comedy in it, but it is not like your traditional romantic comedy.
Fred is in the YouTube chat, and he says, best rom-com of all time is Little Nicky, Adam Sandler picture, Jackson.
That is not true. The Wedding Singer, actually, Wedding Singer is my favorite of the Adam Sandler movies, and it is my favorite of Drew Barrymore.
What about Punch Drunk Love? Can I do Punch Drunk Love?
I think Punch Drunk Love is too dramatic. Is that is like his wife dead in that
Yeah,
one?
it's
Or
the
am I-
PTA movie.
Yeah, I don't like that one. That doesn't count. Someone brings up Just Friends. That's a good rom-com.
With the great Ryan Reynolds.
Correct.
The delectable Ryan Reynolds.
in
You
his
describe him, Jackson, when we're in commercial breaks.
Correct. In his ultimate
Woof, woof.
form, right? Ryan Reynolds' ultimate form is like in a movie like, or Van Wilder is really the ultimate Ryan Reynolds, just being Ryan Reynolds.
Was that Amy Smart, his co-star?
Yes,
Amy Smart?
and so was what's her name that was married to what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy that was on Mom.
Jackson, you own
You know who am I thinking of? His
goodorbad.com.
ex-wife, the guy, she was also in it.
Throw Mama from the Train, Anne Ramsey.
Ellen! And this is Mama. See that? Now, you want to know why? Also, another movie that
I thought I asked the Cardinal question.
Okay, hold on. I will also go to you. I'm going to go to you about other movies that can't count as good romantic comedies. Any that include Billy Crystal, because it's totally unrealistic that Billy Crystal would ever get to lay Meg Ryan in her prime. That's why we eliminate When Harry Met Sally.
So
from
that's been eliminated, Jack.
I eliminate When Harry Met Sally. It's a fine movie, but Avatar is more realistic than the idea that Billy Crystal's going to hook up with Meg Ryan at any point in life.
What about what Nigel Brigden is saying in the YouTube chat, Silver Linings Playbook?
Not a comedy. It's just
And not good.
He's a manic depressive. And it's about Eagles fans.
That's bad on goodorbad.com?
David O. Russell sucks.
Wow, what a take! 52 minutes in.
What?
David O. Russell
What?
sucks.
No, and Anna Faris was who I was talking about. She was also in Just Friends. Ooh, what about Prime? And now we're just all over the place.
I didn't think anyone had worse ADD than me and Tim, but I've been proven wrong.
Listen, I'm sorry. I know we were talking about Mosaic.
and snort heaps of it.
We're talking about, maybe we can make it sports. Like, what movie is the Bill DeWitt, the third interview of movies? I don't know. We can make it a sports
It's a callback, Jackson.
conversation.
That is nice, yeah. Full circle.
Again, it all started because you said Bull Durham was the greatest romantic comedy ever, and I can't.
Well, I was just
think it
asking.
is?
If I can count it, it's my favorite sports movie.
But that's not the same.
But it's romantic.
How do you feel about
Susan Sarandon? Oh, Lord.
What was the third Kevin Costner baseball movie where he throws the no-hitter?
The Natural?
yeah.
Not the Natural. For Love of the Game.
I kind of
No.
like that movie. Hot Kelly Preston was in it.
Jackson's
It's-
giving that bad. Jackson owns goodorbad.com, Josh.
Yeah. Kelly Preston also in Jerry Maguire, which
was.
is hilarious. I don't know.
It's funny, but it's not a comedy on its own. It's not like like there's movies that are funny and have funny elements to them, but they're not exactly what I would call comedies.
Jackson, where are you going to sit on this whole thing now? Give me your official.
I maintain that I looked up top rom-coms. The first thing that comes up is Jerry Maguire.
What is that from your website?
goodorbad.com.
Yeah.
I invested
Now,
in it. No
someone
monetization strategy. Furious.
Now here's an example that I think would count. Tin Cup. Someone says
what's
Tin
that?
Cup.
So you can
Tin Cup
count
is a-
Tin Cup, but I can't count Jerry Maguire or Bull Durham?
Correct. Well, now, that's closer to Bull Durham than Jerry Maguire.
Well,
Jerry Maguire's too dramatic. There's no drama in Bull Durham, and there's no drama, really. Those are just straight-up comedies, whereas Jerry Maguire, like, you complete me, and, like, where's your wife, Jerry? Like, all that kind of stuff. Like, there's drama involved, so I can't count
If I can
that.
count Tin Cup, then I'll take Tin Cup. I love Tin Cup.
Tin Cup's a great...
So
Look at
Tin
us.
Cup is the greatest romantic comedy of all time.
I agree.
There it is.
I'm with it.
We workshopped it.
Goodorbad.com.
I'm with it.
Goodorbad.com, another investor.
That
Yeah.
should make it to the poster. When someone buys, it's like goodorbad.com
yes.
says...
Forget
If Don Johnson's in it, I'm in.
Wow.
Dude, he's the greatest bad guy. Let me tell
He's
you
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, just so you know.
Oh,
God,
boy.
he's so
I wish
good in
you
that.
never told me that.
What about when we're talking about like the evil golf guy? Do you ever look at what's his name, the coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart, and go, this guy could be like the bad guy in a golf movie?
Wow, Kirby Smart has a real high approval rating, and then maybe now he needs to be a bad golf guy in a
Look
golf
at the
movie.
visor. He just looks like the guy that you would hate in the golf movie.
Nice play. Yeah, you got to be wearing a visor out on the golf course if you want to be the bad guy.
Still going.
At 10:54, Jackson, we will have time for one more. Because you said you were excited about your quick hitters for me and
Yeah,
Josh.
Will
I'm
Pill's
so
quick hitter
sorry I
corner.
did this. I derailed this.
No, there's no such thing. We've never been on the rails.
Now I feel better.
Yeah, metaphorically speaking. Take a commercial break, come back with final segment of Bloom Party, 101 ESPN. All right, Jackson, we have a minute. Make it count.
Right. What are some fashion trends from the 1970s, 80s, or 90s that you'd like to see return to the forefront? Could be in sports or otherwise.
Leather. Women.
Is that a kink?
Oh, totally. I love 80s,
We don't
hot
kink shame on the
80s
show.
chicks, like with big
hair. As a South
and-
City native, I mean, that's my childhood.
As someone who had a hot stepmom who had big hair.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and next time we'll hang out, I'll explain to you how I tried to watch my dad's homemade porn with my stepmom, but it didn't.
What a great teaser.
Yeah, so next time we reconvene.
Quick hitter corner always pays off.
It's 11 o'clock, and it's the perfect way to land the plane.
But 80s leather, I think bell bottoms are stupid, so the 70s
70s
fashion,
are
I
out,
think
but
sucks.
80s
But high socks of the 70s look good.
Do you want the high socks, big hair?
But big hair of the 80s.
That's coming back. Time for us to go. BK and Ferrario are up next. Josh will be in tomorrow and Friday. Enjoyed the hour with you, sir. Quite an adventure.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy good ADD radio.
That's what I do. I'm sorry.
That's
I have so many
perfect.
thoughts.
That's what I do
And
as
on
well.
Casey, I don't get to talk at all, so
right?
I'm pent up. That's
So
what
this
I
is
think.
a nice release
If I
here.
did this for a long enough time, I'd be boring. But since I'm pent up, I get this.
Time for us to shut it down. For Josh Innes, for Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Mugganass St. Louis Acura, Mugganass Burkhardt Alton Toyota, presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. And the place I go and my family goes to get our cars serviced as well. It's stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. And then they even give a number specific for our listeners. And that number is the following. You